Hey guys, welcome to coverage. We're in round 4 of GPS, is it? GPS? I think that's right. And this is the 3-0 bracket, and we've got 2 decks brewed by Pip. Temur, Flash, Tempo, whatever you want to call it, up against Casino Scam. So Pip is on the side of the Temur Flash deck, Ash is on Casino Scam. A brief overview of the deck. Casino Scam is a deck built around casting buy time so that you can't lose the game, and then a card called All or Nothing, which is a 4 mana ad nauseum. Basically, you draw your deck, you pay a bunch of life, or lose a bunch of life, but you don't die because of buy time, and then you win however you decide to win. In this deck, it's Last Passage. Meanwhile, Pipsqueak is playing a deck with a bunch of instants and counter spells, and her goal is to land a couple of threats and then just control the game from there. So turn 1, Ash is going to lead on a Duress and see 3 Bounty of the Gardens and the mana to cast them, a Cosmic Sinkhole and a Veilborn Meddler. I think that you probably just take the Sinkhole here. You could see an argument for taking a Veilborn Meddler. Taking a Bounty of the Gardens just doesn't really get you there. But I think your plan has to be take the counterspell and just win the game with the combo. Ash has 4 lands and then 1 removal spell, which is going to take care of the first bounty token and a buy time. That's a bad draw for Ash to see. Portal Fracture just gives Pipsqueak another way to counter Ash's combo. Ash draws a 5th land. So I think basically what you're going to see in this matchup is Pip leave mana open as soon as the game hits turn 4 and then never drop shields. She has a turn here where she can cast a bounty and then move to untap without having to worry about losing. I guess theoretically, is it end step of turn 4? So end step of turn 4, buy time, you cast it, take an extra turn, play a land, cast All or Nothing, then take your regular turn. Yeah. So on the end step of turn 4, Pip is going to need to leave the shields up. Ash is drawn poorly, just 2 lands. So now their hand is just 3 lands and a buy time, which isn't really what you want to see. Ash is going to fetch after exuding the token. Not really sure what the point of the fetch was, I guess just to get the action over with. So here, Pip can play the Tamiyo without having to worry about leaving shields down, because if you buy time on your own turn, you take an extra turn, but then your opponent gets a turn. And at that point, you've likely lost. So what you're going to see is, theoretically, if Ash was going to go for the combo, do it on Pipsqueak's turn, because buy time is an instant. Then you take your extra turn, and then get your regular turn, which I mentioned a little earlier. Unfortunately for Ash, they don't have the other... Well, they don't really have anything here, but they don't have the other half of the combo. So I doubt we're going to see the aggressive buy time and hope to spike the draw step. That's not really a winning combo in my book. Seek Prophecy draw helps a bit, depending on what it flips, but it does at least get some card velocity going, because Ash had just been, drawing lands. That's going to resolve, and we're going to see... Well, it's unclear. While we wait for the Seek Prophecy to resolve, I think I'll talk a little bit about the matchup. I expect that this matchup is simply going to be won by who draws better. If Pipsqueak draws the proper amount of counterspells, then this matchup goes to Pip pretty easily. If Ash draws enough hand attack and interaction to fight through the counter magic, then I think Ash probably takes it pretty easily. Pip's clock is not super fast, it's mostly a tempo clock. Prying Inquiry is a great thing to pick up off Seek Prophecy. It can take this Portal Fracture out of Pip's hand and get a little more card velocity with the Investigate token. And Pip's going to be able to get a lot of card selection for the rest of this game, basically setting up all of her draws with Tamiyo. But Ash is just going to have to hope that the counter spells are all stacked to the bottom. Yeah, so Ash takes the Fracture. It seemed like an obvious choice. And Pip's going to untap, draw a 4th land, which I believe she had stacked to the top with Tamiyo. And you can make this a 5-color land if you want to. There's literally no reason not to. Pip's going to cast a main phase bounty here and maybe draw with Tamiyo. Is that what we're about to see? Draw 3, discard 1. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. So Pip plays the bounty main phase so that there's another type for Tamiyo, I'll hover Tamiyo. And then close this window. And unfortunately, Pip does not hit another counter spell. So she is technically dead if Ash draws all or nothing here. The question is, will Ash go for it if they do? It seems like a really risky move, especially since your opponent just drew so many cards, but I think you can't just sit around on the combo. And of course, it's not relevant unless Ash draws all or nothing. They don't. They draw Last Passage. So Ash is going to cast the Last Passage. That's going to give some more card flow. Last Passage, you create 3 omens, which are artifacts that tap to discard a card and then sacrifice to draw a card, which is going to give some card flow. It has some more text that's relevant near the end of the game, but not now. Pip tries to cast Bounty, but has an untapped Mountain, which cannot be used to cast Bounty if the gardens. I think maybe she probably wanted to bolt Ash at that point, but either way. So Tamiyo is going to plus on the Nebula. Nebula is going to tap to add blue, and Pip's going to scry a couple. We can see Pip put 2 Wayfarer Shrines on the bottom, so the next card's unknown, and now we're going to see, yeah, Pip's going to make another 4/4. So this game is now just about attacking Ash's life total. Pip doesn't have any real meaningful interaction. She can point 9 points of burn at Ash's face, which means that theoretically Ash will die next turn. So this is the turning point in this game. Ash draws a Fair Trial, not really what you want to see here. I think exiling Tamiyo or either of the tokens is just too slow. So I'd expect to see some filtering with these omens. I think you probably crack one. Well, maybe just wait until your draw step. It's not that important. Yeah, so we are going to see end step omen crack here. She's probably going to discard this Wayfarer Shrine. And these don't give any card advantage, but they will filter through some of the chaff here. Another Fair Trial. I have to imagine these both get filtered through the omens. Maybe not. Maybe Ash's plan is to just Fair Trial both of the tokens. I think that's a mistake. I think here you have to just go for the combo. You know that Pipsqueak's deck has a bunch of burn in it. You're dead to counterspells, you're dead to burn. So Fair Trial is going to hit a token. I think Pip was a little hasty destroying the token. It's possible that Ash wanted to hit the Tamiyo. Yeah, here we go. So this is going to hit the Tamiyo, which doesn't quite leave Ash dead. Interestingly, I think that Veilborn Meddler on the Fair Trial, Void Flare in response to the trigger was a counter on the Fair Trial. And I don't know, I guess maybe Pip's playing around an Exeunt here, thinking that she's in a pretty good spot. So Ash is just dead next turn. The Veilborn Meddlers can take out anything with CMC 2 or less. Ooh, a Duress is a funny draw, but it's not going to be good enough here. Because Pip's going to be able to burn Ash twice in response. Oh, she doesn't. Okay, Pip is playing this really slowly. She's holding out to counter something. I guess to just counter a cantrip, knowing that Ash probably doesn't have the combo in hand. Or to counter... Well, actually, I don't know what else you'd be countering with the Meddlers. So maybe because you can go Meddler, Frenzy, and have Lethal represented another way. Or just... No, Meddler doesn't quite do it, because that gives you 7. So Ash is dead here. And just gonna let Pip draw. And then I have to assume we'll die. Oh, okay. So Ash is gonna buy time upkeep, knowing that Pip can't counter it. That's gonna set Ash's life total to 0. I always forget that that's one of the modes that this card has. So after this turn, Ash has an extra turn. Until an opponent's next turn, Ash can't lose. So Ash now has 2 turns to win the game. And 2 filters and a consult to try to get there. Ooh, and a seek. So all Ash has to do is find an all or nothing here wins it. That's not all or nothing, that's not all or nothing, and that's not all or nothing. So Ash does find the third, the land that they needed to pick up, because they need to have 6 mana the turn they cast all or nothing, but now they need this consult the dewdrops to hit an all or nothing. I guess they're going to crack the omen first. Basically, they need an Omen or an All or Nothing to be within the top 6 cards of their deck. Exune doesn't get there. That's a meaningless draw. Swamp doesn't get there. And so now we find out. Consult is going to look at 4 cards. We don't get to see them. And basically, Ash either wins or concedes. So Ash is going to pick up a Seek Prophecy. We see that the other cards were Prying Inquiry, Fair Trial, Flooded Depths. Which means that they get just another... If I were Pip, I would have countered this with the Veilborn Meddler. I don't know why you don't. It's not doing anything else. So Ash is now going to move to their turn, and they just have to draw All or Nothing, or else they lose. And they don't, so they're going to lose. This game is officially over. Ash can go through these motions if they want to, but it's not like they have any life gain. Can you gain life on your buy time turns? No. So, I guess technically another buy time does it. Yeah, so that's what Ash is sticking to. Ash is sticking to cast another buy time, take another turn, untap, get another draw. And they miss. That's brutal. I think that Ash had to be a pretty high percentage to win there, to just find one All or Nothing or another buy time. That's a rough way to go. I think Pip should have countered the Seek Prof. I think it was a mistake not to. But yeah, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Alright, I haven't looked through these sideboards, so I'll take a second to do so. Let's see, Ash has Garth, right? I forgot Garth was in this sideboard. Dead Man's Parties that I think probably can't come in here. Maybe you do bring in the Dead Man's Parties. You definitely don't bring in the Deathless Siege. You probably bring in Thought Blossoms. You don't bring in Mementos. You don't bring in Rest. You don't bring in Seals, and you don't bring in Ignition Rituals. So Thought Blossoms may be the Dead Man's, but I think the deck's in a pretty good spot where it is. Meanwhile, that damn Pipsqueak. The Mark Arths don't really do anything. You bring in the 3 Stills for sure, and the 2 Spell Stutters, so just 5 more counter spells. Yeah, so Dead Man's Parties did come in. There's 1 main deck, but we saw 2 here. Garth is going to replace one of the Dead Man's. You see a Spell Stutter for Pip, and we're off. Pip can freely shock. There's no reason not to. Your life total does not matter in this matchup. You can be at 1, and it doesn't. It's the exact same as being at 100. Double fetch here from Ash. Getting certainly a black source, probably a blue source. And then Prying Inquiry is going to be pointed at Pip. Black source. And show me the blue. Red, fine. So I guess that means the Wayfarer Shrine in hand is destined for an island. This is going to be Prying Inquiry. And I assume Pip will Spell Stutter it in response. Yeah. Basically the same as the Prying Inquiry resolving, except they don't get the token, and you don't have to reveal your hand. So pretty much better in all ways. Now Pip's going to untap and be able to pass with Veilborn Meddler open, or Portal Fracture open. And that Portal Fracture looks like it's destined for a Garth. Knowing Pip's counterspell situation, I really don't want to see a Prying Inquiry get fired off here. You can Inquiry next turn when you have 2 untapped mana. At least force Pip to do 2 things. Yeah, here comes Garth. That's going to meet a Portal Fracture. Pip's going to fetch what I expect to be a Forest here. Yep. And Portal Fracture is going to eat the Garth. So turn 2, play, countered by a turn 1 counterspell. Turn 3, play, countered by a turn 2 counterspell. And here we are. So Inquiry is going to get countered by Veilborn Meddler, which is always fun, but that is going to leave the Dead Man's Party open to hit the battlefield. I think it probably does. We'll see. Maybe it's just a fair trial on the Veilborn Meddler, but I think Party's probably what I would do. Ash is now deciding what they want to do, which is fair. Yeah, fair trial on the Panya. That is not the play I would have made. Can't believe you put a mouse on trial. Me either, Pip. Me either. So Cane Dancer now represents Portal Fracture, which also is going to make tokens. The Veilborn Meddler can counter anything with CMC 3 or less. And Ash is in trouble. I think that this game is now, unless they just hit runner, runner, runner here, I think that they are going to lose 2-0. So this is actually interesting. I think, yeah, this is a good play. So we're going to see Cane Dancer, flashing back Portal Fracture. Portal Fracture pointed at Dead Man's Party. So Ash either gets to pay 2 and let it get countered, or not pay 2 and let it get countered. And then take 10 on the crack. So 12. 12 damage on the crackback. I think you have to fetch there. You're dead to burn anyway. I think you have to fetch and cast the last passage so you can get the omens. The only way that you win this is by filtering through to buy time into all or nothing. Exactly. This game's over otherwise. Pip's hand has no spells in it, but it doesn't matter. Yep, that's game. There's no way Ash can recover from this. We're going to see now what they would have drawn with these omens, I guess. Yep, game's over. They needed these omens last turn if they wanted to stand a chance. So Pip's going to take it in 2. I think Ash got very unlucky to lose that first game. The second game was well out of their control. Pip just had everything. And I think that Pip's deck just showed off why it's so good right now, because you can just prevent your opponent from playing the game while playing your own sort of game, and that's typically good enough. Thank you guys for watching with me, and hopefully I'll be back with some more exciting coverage from round 4 and round 5.